talking about women who have been driven to kill their abusive husbands.
Sister Mary Nerney is the director of a New York-based organization called Steps to End Family Violence. Her organization gives legal counseling to these women. And what kind of cases do you deal with in this organization?
Well, most of the women that we work with are women who have, well, all of them have been involved in the criminal justice system after having been abused. So the majority of women are women like Leslie who have what we might say fought back. Others are women who have other charges, but they relate to the abuse that they have experienced. And we provide support groups and counseling, as well as we accompany the women to court and stay with them all through the court process.
Mary, before I ask you the next question, I wanted to ask one question of Leslie. That the man who actually killed your husband, well, maybe I should ask Margaret, excuse me. Where is he now, and what's happening with him?
As far as I know, he's still in prison in Illinois. He received a 25-year sentence for killing the man.
Sister Mary, let's go back to women. And we were talking before the program. You said in New York City, where you are from, currently there's about 40 women in that situation already this year?
That we know of, that we're working with.
So what do you encourage them to do? What do you...
Well, these are women who have already been arrested. What I think is needed is that we need to work with women who may be in that desperate situation or who may be close to that desperate situation, because they need to speak to other people. They need to let that abuse be known, because that is most important.
What do most of these women have to turn to? A lot of these women are frightened. A lot of women don't have money to go to any attorney. And they don't know who to turn to. In Leslie's case, she said she turned to her family, and her family encouraged her to stay. Where do these women go?
Well, there are a few programs for battered women. This is important. They should reach out to any of the women's programs and women's services within their local area.
What do you do? What do you call?
You can also call the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and they will tell you where you can get services within your area. It's in Washington, D.C. There's an 800 number, 800-333-SAFE. SAFE.
We'll have that.
And that can give you, they can give you resources around the country. But it is very important that women speak out, that they break that silence, because that's what happens so often, is that women are so terrified that they will not talk about the abuse that they have experienced. And then, unfortunately, they get into a desperate situation and feel that they have no other options, and it is more likely that they would be killed than that they kill.
All right, very important point. You know, 95% of the homicides between men and women who are married or are living together, 95% are men who kill the women. Leslie is only one of 5% of the women who kill their abusers. And I am sure that Leslie would have been killed by her abuser had she not killed him.
There is a very strong legal question here. I mean, and even Governor Thompson labored over this for 7 years in Leslie's case. How do you know if it is a justifiable homicide? I mean, I'm sorry, I mean, there's good and bad people on both sides of this question. Margaret, how do you ferret out the true answer on it?
Well, I think that overall, if the criminal justice system would step in when the woman is first abused, and if the police would respond to these calls, police officers hate to respond to domestic violence calls, and we have to wonder, you know, why is that? Sometimes they say, well, we're afraid that we might be injured. Sure. On the other hand, some people, advocates have suggested to me that many police officers are themselves batterers, or at least they agree with the overall society's belief that men have a right to control the women they live with, even by using violence.
That's right. And even if the police respond, then the criminal justice system, the court system, doesn't respond. They minimize the abuse.
Is that changing at all? I mean, do you find that changing at all, Margaret?
Slightly.
All the time?
Very slightly. Some of the laws that have changed, that are either pro-arrest or a tendency toward arrest, still are not really making a significant difference. And sometimes what is happening is that it may lessen the physical abuse that women experience, but it increases the psychological abuse that they experience. So it's good, but we have a long way to go.
Sister Mary, when do you notice that at what point do these women break and decide to actually kill? In your experience, what is the
I
turning
don't
point
think
for
that
them?
it is just that they, you know, they wake at one day and say, this is the day I'm going to kill the abuser. But it is a series of a long involvement in an abusive relationship. They have tried whatever way, some good ways, some maybe not very strong ways, but they've tried all different options. They see that the options don't work. And then at some one particular point, they realize that this time it's different. Sometimes it may be what I call almost like a look in the eye. That I could tell this time he really meant it when he said he was going to kill me. And that's the point at which she is basically struggling for her survival. And it is very, very hard to say. She realizes that she is
let me ask Leslie, did you find that true in your case?
Exactly.
What
I
happened?
agree with her completely because it had been numerous years that I went through that, and it's like I was saying, which way can I turn? You know, there was no way to go, and I felt...
incident, though, that that really triggered you? The last, which was what?
When he put a knife around my neck. Yeah. I had told him I wanted a divorce, and that's what led to that. Yeah. And he just could not...
And Leslie had also just graduated from high school.
Was your graduation day, you wanted to go down to be with your classmates?
Well, yes, I had earned my AA degree in computer programming. When I met him, I didn't have a GED. I also went to school for my GED, and he was opposed to my going to school. Like the woman in the burning bed, he burned my books. He threw them away.
I think it's important to see that, you know, in its context.
But I was determined to get an education because I knew that I would be responsible, you know, for taking care of my children, and I would want a good job.
Leslie, you spent 7 years in prison.
Yes.
You have been through a terrible, emotional situation.
Yes.
There are other women watching you right now who are in that same situation.
Yes.
What would your advice be to them?
Unless both parties seek psychological help, I would say terminate the relationship. And do not believe him when he says he will change, because unless there's help, he will not change.
All right, real quick.
People also need to, women should call the police. We have to expect the police to protect us. That's the motto of the Chicago Police Department, is to serve and protect. Women, too. Women should expect the police to prosecute batterers. We should expect prosecutors to prosecute batterers, and we should expect judges to sentence batterers.
Margaret,
How are you? You okay? Your kids are fine?
By the grace of God, we'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Thank you so much. Leslie Brown, Margaret Byrne, thank you very much, and Sister Mary Nerney.
Thank you. Coming up next, Kitty Bartholomew has new ideas for the antique look. We'll be right back.